of the Wuhua sect. Hearing this, Tai Xianggao and the courtiers shielding Yining worriedly said, "This person has earth immortal cultivation, we can't fight back." But Yining felt a pang of regret, for even with his earth immortal cultivation, he couldn't break through his defenses. Understanding this, Yining decided to let this foolish elder return to call for more people, otherwise they would come one by one. It's a real waste of time, so Yining asked Mo Haoran what he wanted. Hearing this, Mo Haoran blurted out that it was naturally to kill, but as soon as the word kill was uttered, he felt an overwhelming pressure, unable to speak, and his body was frozen. But he soon realized this was not a power he could contend with. Behind Yining, there must be a shockingly powerful expert. But Mo Haoran looked around me. Unexpectedly, Yining's explanation angered everyone. They shouted in unison. He vowed to fight Yining to the death. Then the elders of the Xingxin sect began to set up their formation. The next second, a giant mirror appeared in midair. The person facing Yining sneered. "Spirit sect has already brought out their Tranfi treasure, why haven't you shown your trump card yet?" Yining honestly replied. "I really don't have any trump cards." Then, a blazing red energy shot towards Yining. However, before the attack could reach him, it suddenly exploded in midair, about 100 meters away from Yining. Witnessing this scene, the elder of Xianmen loudly questioned Yining. "You still say you don't have any backup plan?" Yining sighed, knowing that no matter what he said now, they would find it hard to believe. "But right now, Yahello, who are you?" Liangren calmly told Yining. "My name is Nangong Liangren," and told Yining not to ask any more questions, because I have forgotten it myself. Immediately after, Liangren seriously turned back to look at Yining and murmured, "Before, I was just a wandering soul. It was Master Yi who made me understand that this world can still treat me with kindness. It was you who gave me hope to continue living. Today I, Liangren, will also return that hope and faith to Master Yi. With me, Nangong Liangren, here, no one in this world can kill Master Yining." Liangren's arrogant words angered the people of Xianmen, who accused him of boasting. After that, several people simultaneously attacked, quickly rushing towards Liangren. At this moment, Liangren's eyes suddenly burst with a golden light. A golden whirlwind of destruction erupted to all of you. If it weren't for you, this battle cannot be won. Everyone has helped Yining, help the people. In terms of love and reason, Yining must reciprocate. Please speak frankly, anything Yining can do, he will certainly not refuse. The elder representing Zixia Academy spoke first. "We Confucianists only want to rebuild Zixia Academy and revive Confucianism. We hope we can stay in Bin and witness the new policies of Grand Tutor." Yining agreed without hesitation, worried about the people, truly a role model for readers. The old monk chanted a Buddhist prayer and stepped forward, hoping Yining would agree with him. "Spread Mahayana Buddhism in Kyushu." Yining replied that he would not hinder their development. After all, Buddhism in this world was still very pure, and moreover, the people needed some spiritual comfort. However, he also told the monk that he would not allow the government to provide any assistance to them, nor would he allow them to build temples at will. If Yining does so, not only will it not make Buddhism flourish, but it will also lead Buddhism to a point of no return. Buddhism seeks to experience hundreds of bitterness, endure hundreds of hardships to cultivate oneself. If it's due to external causes created by us. But if it changes the original ideal of Buddhism, then it would be a loss. The highest realm of Zen meditation is a mind as still as water. Don't be so. But at that moment, a beast's roar interrupted their conversation. A tiger demon, wielding a saber, appeared, greedily eyeing the villagers. Its mouth opened, speaking in human tongue. Unexpectedly, this small village has so much food. Today, this tiger can eat his fill. Seeing that, Deshan held up his hoe to shield the two women. "Xiaotui, Miss Fang, you two go quickly, enter the city and find Master Yi of the supervisory department. Let me hold this monster back." The monster swung its broadsword and laughed. "You insignificant ant, know your place. Who do you think you are?" The next moment, a few cold rays of light flashed. The eyes of the beast were filled with astonishment as they looked at Fang Qingxue who had just come out. You are a cultivator?" After roaring, the giant beast's body crashed down. Hearing the word, immortal cultivator, the panicked crowd looked towards the young woman. Miss Fang was such a good person. How could this be? On this side, Fang Qingxue was a little tense as she walked towards the people. But they unconsciously took 2 steps back. "My journey is clearly kept very secret. How did Yining know?" Yining didn't wait for Wei Wang to continue, but went forward to invite him to sit in the tea house. He also wanted to fulfill his duty as a landlord. The guards behind Wei Wang nervously drew their swords and charged toward Yining. Chao Mengwei, the king, directly waved his hand to stop them. Then he put his hands together towards Yining as a greeting. "Master Yi, Long time no see. Yining smiled in response, if that was the case. Then follow me, and soon after, Yining invited Wei Wang to the reception hall. Wei Wang exclaimed, this trip to Bingzhou, Chao truly broadened his horizons. Even the tea of deep Dairen is more fragrant than the tea that Salmo often drinks a lot. Yining smiled and explained that tea ceremony should be natural. Too many ingredients will overwhelm its original flavor. Always try some new changes, there may be new discoveries. Hearing this, Chao Ming also acknowledged the idea, secretly thinking that this new type of tea was indeed created by Yining. Suddenly he slammed his teacup on the table and spoke seriously. But change comes at a price, at least the old. Moreover, a demon risking their life to deliver a letter to an immortal was already a huge risk. I won't let my sister do that. Hearing this, Liang Ren's expression softened, and he gently agreed. All right, I agree. After hearing their conversation, Bai Hu looked at Emily, who was running towards him, with a little surprise. He didn't expect her to be a demon. Seeing Bai Hu, Emily called out happily. He immediately ran to Bai Hu's side. He lifted her up and held her tightly in his arms, feeling the warmth of Emily's embrace. Bai Hu just thought that she was being teased. But thinking about it carefully, although Emily is a demon, but she is kinder than most of the human and demon races. Even I was once saved by her. Suddenly, Emily softly called Xiao Bai. Bai Hu immediately opened her eyes. She cried and then Emily murmured. I'm scared, I can feel the breath of my kin. They must be here to capture Yining. I know Yi Gij is trying to save everyone, but I, Emily, pretended not to know anything and chose to escape. Was I being selfish? Bai Hu suddenly spoke. He can't stand it anymore. The elder of the Xian men beside Yining suddenly took out a pill and placed it before him, saying that the pill could suppress his cultivation. This helped Yining smoothly pass through the teleportation formation, but it would take 7 days. The user's constitution could only be restored with new medicine, but Yining unusually exclaimed. There's such a good medicine. Why didn't you take it out for me earlier? At the same time, Liang Ren took the pill. Yining refused his request to swallow with him, saying that only Liang Rening would stay to look after the rear. Then we can rest assured. Liang Ren, with a doubtful look, asked Yining. They had all agreed on the alliance. What else do you need to look after? The old woman, who was swaying and about to fall, shouted at Yining to hurry up. Unable to bear it any longer, Yining didn't hesitate, grabbed the pill, and thought joyfully. The safety of Dichu now rests on your shoulders, Liang Ren. Then, Yining entered the teleportation formation, and its mouth gradually dissipated. What the hell is this? The dragon roared. A mortal's district, yet it can. Wielding immense power, even a divine dragon condensed from destiny couldn't withstand 3 of his moves. Seeing the immense attraction from Yining's hand, the dragon was visibly terrified, its mouth constantly shouting, how could such a mere mortal possess this power? A horrifying thought flashed through its mind, could you be the descendant of the heavenly emperor? Hearing him murmuring, Yining looked at the divine dragon with a puzzled expression. Just now, the wind was strong. I couldn't hear clearly. Jin Long, initially scared, now felt extremely humiliated and shouted. I don't care which human descendant you are. How dare you touch my reverse scale? You shall die! Immediately after, the giant dragon opened its bloody mouth, condensing a circle of golden halo. The spiritual energy Yining will surely die. Ma Di, also a man, loved Yining to death, just because he was hit by an irreversible spell. Tall on the outside but with a woman's heart. So just now, he even intended to kill Yining. Looking at Yining with a face devoid of fear, the demon emperor said coldly. If you want to die so badly, then I will fulfill your wish. Yining stared intently at the eyes all in front of him with an expectant look. Come here, let me be invincible. I have been waiting for you for a long time, so Yining closed her eyes peacefully. But when he opened his eyes again, he found himself disappointed. Then Yining heard the hearty laughter of Mo Zun saying, I used to think that you always had a way out, so you took death so lightly. But after the recent test, I now understand. You are simply not afraid of death. Surprisingly, Yining felt a sense of familiarity in the words of Mod, even though they were clearly meeting for the first time. But it feels like we've known each other for a long time. Then Ma Di again pretended to teach Yining, saying it was not good to be so reckless. There are many more people in the world who need you, Yi Xiaoda. Hearing this address, Yining immediately froze. It was an impossible thought for him to entertain. You are Bi Wuham, aren't you? Hearing Deep Nin recognize her identity as the demon emperor, she said to Deep Nin with a hint of grievance. My sister simply changed her appearance. Took you long enough to recognize me. Seems like you don't care much about your senior sister. Yining looked at the person in front of her, who was 2.5 meters tall, with some discomfort. Mom, why did Bui Tai become a demon lord? This is so wickedly interesting. Emily beside her looked seriously towards her father's soul fragment, or rather, towards Baiyuhan. This was indeed her father's body. Buivuham, in the body of the MOD, looked at Deep Nin with even more arrogant eyes. It's all your fault that I've become like this. Because the world of Great Chu had been upgraded to the Xian level before. Therefore, a monk like me can still go to the immortal devil battlefield without using a secretary. Therefore, I used the Xianman's teleportation formation to find you and Emily. But just as he set foot, I have been captured by Ma Di, who is preparing to attack the Xianzu. The Emperor didn't know how he found out about my identity. He wants to extract information about Yining from me. But how can we submit to the power of the demonic path? But sister, isn't it you? Yining was about to say something but Beijia interrupted. The MOD, seeing that he couldn't get the answer he wanted, intended to use the D-Hun technique to invade my brain. Yining was startled when she heard this. It was the soul technique. Hearing this, Emily, who was standing beside him, broke out in a cold sweat. She had read in ancient texts that the sky transmigration technique could devour the souls of others and obtain their memories, and the person who used the transmigration technique also have to suffer the consequence of a weakened part of their soul. However, Bui Taiya's words were even stranger, because she was not swallowed, she only swapped bodies with the Ma-Di, and also obtained a part of the memories of MOD. But Yining suddenly interrupted her. He looked at Bui Vuham with a serious expression and said, regardless of the purpose, never do anything that dangerous again, if something actually happens to you. Older sister Peiyuhan, hearing this, immediately pressed her face close to Yining's and earnestly asked, if something happens to me, what will you do? Exterminate the demon clan and avenge me? Yining's words got stuck in her throat, amazed. Now that your face is like this, it is really hard for my junior brother to answer your question. But Emily, who witnessed the two teasing each other, felt a chill. Something is wrong with brother and father. Then, Sister Pei suddenly said that she has a way to exchange bodies with the demon emperor. She also asked Yining if he remembered the demon-suppressing tower she had asked him to keep. Yining immediately took out the small tower. You mean this can help you change back to your original form? Bui Vuham nodded and said, that's right, the Soul Emperor's soul is stronger than mine. If we directly transfer the soul, he may devour us as soon as he returns to his body. But if we use the Jinma Pagoda as a means, it would be much safer. But Deep Nin wondered if the soul suppression tower could truly subdue the soul of the Ma Emperor. Sister Bui said with a smile, this is an ancient artifact. Suppressing the demon emperor will definitely not be a problem. However, he had already transformed into the body of Ma Di. Why not take advantage of it before changing it? Dai, you must know the news that the Xian and Mo clans want to join forces to conquer the Deshu world. Now I can rest assured, the Xian race now has to face. It's not just the Great Zhou dynasty, I've reopened it. The Dharma formations that Ma Zong had set up at the Xian Ma battlefield. On the other side, the elder behind worriedly looked at Kumu Island, activating the teleportation formation for the Mo clan. Is there really no problem, Kumu? This is the sect leader's order. But in fact, even he was very worried, because what they faced was an army of demons who knew no bounds. Xianjun, once high and mighty, has become his son's hunting dog. That's the son who betrayed his father. Now, step by step, she rises, becoming a general, second only to one. Hearing Su Kun's report, Gu Xianzuan was excited. Going to Great Chu is as easy as turning one's hand. This deity bestows upon you the demon slayer's sword and command of 10,000 celestial soldiers. Go warn De Chu. Upon hearing this, Su Kun immediately refused in his heart, cursing, I'm a newbie, not a fool. De Chu is still a mystic rank world. For a moment, a terrifying pressure radiated from the throne, making Su Kun shiver. Every time you are given a chance, you make all sorts of excuses. This deity doesn't like raising useless dogs. Su Kun quickly explained that because his strength was low, he was afraid of encountering a strong enemy. You have disgraced me. Ko Tien Tun snorted coldly. When did I ever tell you to go on your own? Bring him to me. A guard appeared immediately after the command. They took Su Daiqiang, whose clothes were tattered, away. But when Su Kun called him, father, Tuo Daiquan glared at him, signaling for him to shut up. Gu Xianzun spoke. A taboo has been placed on Su Daiqiang. From now on, he will be your hunting dog. Hearing this, Su Kun looked at Su Daiqiang's fierce eyes. He thanked Xianzun, then obediently unlocked Su Daiqiang's shackles and said, Father, let's go. In a corner of the palace, Fang Qinshui stared. Watching their retreating figures, after the tide receded, she quietly went to the dove-releasing forest. If Great Zhou could not overcome this crisis, perhaps it was Great Zhou's destiny. But all of this was being followed by Ma Haonian, who had followed her here. Taking everything in, she couldn't believe that Fang Tianzi, cold and ruthless as ice, actually cared. Then, he appeared behind Fang Qingxue and said, I didn't expect that Fang Xianzi would join forces with Yi Ning. Fang Qingxue immediately denied his words. What Qingxue did, from beginning to end, was not for Yi Ning. At the same time, in the Great Zhou dynasty, Yi Ning presented the content of Fang Qingxue's letter to the emperor. But there were two familiar faces, though if it were them. Don't worry, Yi Ning thought there would be some expert creating an opportunity for him. It seems that his older sister's demonic legion isn't ready to be deployed yet. Therefore, Yi Ning asked the emperor to allow him to lead 2,000 crossbowmen to battle. But his majesty seemed worried when he heard him say that the opponent had 10,000 immortal cultivators, while his side only had 2,000 crossbowmen. He feared. Yi Ning smiled and said to the emperor, if it were before, perhaps even 100,000 crossbows would not be enough. But your majesty, do not forget, the Great Chu has advanced to the Earth realm. The upgraded world also makes. Everyone's fortune is increased. 2,000 crossbowmen may not be unable to stop 10,000 Xianzu. At the same time, in the distant sky, Tuoquan kept flattering his father, trying to beg for forgiveness, and ensure that this punitive expedition will be successful. If I kill Yi Ning, I will definitely speak well of you to Gu Xianzuan. By then, he will still be the leader of 10,000 people. But Su Daqiang basically didn't listen to his nonsense, but looked at the city in front of him with cold eyes. Along with the Xianzhou army gradually approaching the city gate, Yi Ning laughed out loud and turned around, shouting, The guest is here! Immediately, Yi Ning extended his right hand, and a golden light condensed in his palm. According to Yi Ning's idea, a golden brushed pen appeared in his hand. Then he swung the brushed pen in his hand. A huge rock suddenly appeared. Cut off the immortal boat, then more rocks fell from the sky. Destroy a vast area of Xianzhou. But Su Kuan rushed forward. Order all surviving fairies to charge into the crowd. Facing the attack of the Xian race, Yi Ning just gave a cold laugh. Only the sound of crossbowmen shouting, Defend the Great Zhou! Could be heard. Eternal security, followed by a rain of swords. In a blink of an eye, the Xian clan army, which had just finished preparing, fell into chaos. Tuoquan fought back against the flying swords in front of him, shouting to everyone not to be afraid. But very soon, a sharp sword pierced through his shoulder. Before he could react, another sword flew straight at his face. Just as he thought he would die there, he was caught between two fingers. Su Daqiang yelled at him in an icy voice. Get lost, don't hang around in front of me. Yi Ning just mentioned a missing divine weapon. Then his nemesis offered him the legendary treasure on a silver platter. Just now, Su Kuan and his father led the immortal clan's army to attack Great Chu. Yi Ning's grand formation can only protect you temporarily, not forever. When the immortal army approaches, you will die. Yi Ning did not talk nonsense with him. Thousands of crossbows behind were ready at her command. Su Daqiang raised his hand to block all the attacks and coldly shouted, It seems you all want to die. Seeing this, Su Kuan stood behind and cried, begging Su Daqiang to withdraw his troops. We couldn't lower it, but his only response was the brutal attack order of Su Daqiang. He also sorrowfully shouted at his son, Do you think that old man will spare me after I return? Unexpectedly, just after advancing to the Earth-level world, the natives' attack power has reached such a level. So Su Daqiang shouted at Yi Ning, You and I don't need to be so tense. Hearing this, Yi Ning did not refuse, but instead walked out of the protective formation. Long time no see, Xuanzong. Su Daqiang gritted his teeth and replied, Thanks to you, I'm still alive. You are smart, I won't talk nonsense. Hand over the relics of Lingyue Xianzuan. We will retreat immediately. Yi Ning heard this and asked him back if he had been kicked in the head, unable to tell who was in the dominant position. Toa Daiqiang sneered. You really don't know your place, Yi Ning. He then condensed 4 differently colored pearls and said loudly, The immortal emperor didn't kill me, not because of my strength, but because I possess one of the immortal race's treasures. As soon as he finished speaking, 4 divine beasts suddenly appeared behind him. The divine armor Xuanjia can synchronize with the cultivator's cultivation base. When using it, one only needs to infuse it with a little spiritual energy, is to be able to simultaneously possess 4 extremely powerful divine beasts. Suddenly, the armor representing Zhuke moved. Time and space seemed to freeze. A blazing light converged on Su Daqiang's right fist. Immediately, he vanished from his spot and flew towards the Zhou. With just one blow, a crack appeared on the protective shield of the Great Zhou world. Su Daqiang warned, Annihilating Great Chu is as easy as flipping my hand for me. I don't have much patience. You'd better make up your mind quickly. At the same time, the energy in Jichu's mouth became even more terrifying. Yi Ning stroked his head and said helplessly to Su Daqiang, You really taught me a lesson. It seems I underestimated you before. If you want it that way, At the same time, Yining suddenly clenched his hand. Raise your right fist. He punched Su Daiqiang hard in the face. Su Daiqiang was punched by Yining and fell far away. Looking at Yining with a resentful expression, scolded Yining for not knowing martial virtue, daring to attack while talking. He kicked him and he fell to the ground. Yining clicked her tongue and replied, "Wu De, you dare talk about martial ethics?" While attacking him, Yining also snatched the treasured pearl from his hand. Yining's brutal act shocked everyone. The Buddhist relic that even a strong monk like Liang Ren had to painstakingly refine, something even powerful means wouldn't be able to steal, seemed different in the case of Su Daiqiang. Celestial armor can synchronize with the cultivator's cultivation level, requiring only a bit of spiritual energy to activate. In other words, Su Daiqiang only considered it a tool, unrefined, and due to the synchronization of cultivation, he also lost his divine abilities. Realizing this, Liang Ren looked up at Yining's back in admiration. Indeed, she is Master Yi. Yet with a single glance, he saw through everything, after robbing Su Daiqiang of all his possessions. Yining, a little disgusted, waved her hand towards him. The equipment has been sent, you can leave. But Su Daiqiang suddenly erupted with a powerful aura all over his body, shouting, "You dare insult this majesty like that?" The shining blade hissed in his hand. Then, he rushed straight towards Yining. Before he could get close, Su Daiqiang was smashed into a bloody pulp by a giant punch from the sky. Yining watched the direction where Su Daiqiang disappeared, silently praying for him. "Thank you for the gift you gave me." The defeated general, in order to survive, he immediately turned around and sacrificed his own father, and put on a heartbroken expression, crying loudly and sang to Yining's group. "Initially, I intended to negotiate with the officials of the Great Zhou, even if it meant disobeying the immortal venerable. However, my father insisted on sending troops. Now that he has passed away, let me be the messenger between the human and immortal realms. To negotiate with Gu Xianzun." Song Mingyue's stern gaze softened. "It's unbelievable that there are still such righteous descendants of the immortals like you." But Yining directly exposed Su Kuan's hypocrisy. Then Yining stared at Su Kuan with a sly smile. "I'll give you two choices." But before Yining could open his mouth, Su Kuan hurriedly replied, choosing whichever one would let him live. Yining, not surprised at all, turned around and said to Tianzi, "Currently, the immortal tribe's army is gathering in one place. If we use Su Kuan as an inside man, could launch a surprise attack on the Xian clan. As he said, the Xian clan army will be fully assembled in 3 days. Attacking the Xian clan now will surely inflict a heavy blow upon them." The emperor, filled with worry, responded, "The strength of the Great Zhou dynasty is not equal to the Celestial clan. Rashly sending out troops, I fear the casualties of the Great Zhou will increase." Yining gave a look. "Your Majesty, rest assured, we are not fighting alone." Then, a deep voice came from outside the palace. He was right. "With me, the Demon Emperor, and 100,000 demon race iron guards to assist. What are mere grass fairies?" Seeing the person arrive, the emperor instinctively cried out, "You are the MOD, are you really willing to help the Great Zhou? What are your conditions?" Ma Di smiled and pulled Yining into his arms, saying, "With the relationship between us, why are we still discussing conditions? Helping a little is normal." Yining reminded him in a low voice to pay attention to his image, but he disdainfully curled his lip. Supported unconditionally by Ma Zun, the emperor was overjoyed and agreed, promising that he would definitely repay him in the future. Leaving the main hall, Yining quietly asked her older sister, "Older sister, are you really sure? Those demon clan members are not to be trifled with." She smiled and asked Yining back, "Since when have I disappointed you?" After saying that, the woman in the body of the Ma Emperor waved goodbye to Yining, saying, "I have to go back and train those little demons." But MOD hadn't gone far. The familiar pain spread from her chest. "Damn it, Ma Di is in such a hurry to reclaim his body. At least he should have waited for me to finish." At the same time in Mingyu, MOD, possessing Pei Yuhan's body, suddenly sneered. "How dare you seize this seat's body and even dream of controlling this seat's army? Do you think this seat can do nothing to you?" As he spoke, the demon emperor began to struggle violently. The demonic aura around him gathered more and more. The devil emperor suddenly shouted, the heavenly devil body dissolving great method. Hearing a tremendous tremor coming from within the stone gate, the guards were thrown into utter panic. The two were terrified, carefully groping their way inside. But the sight before their eyes horrified them. Boundless demonic chi erupted from the central figure. At this moment, the figure in the black mist let out a soft groan. Then he laughed maniacally. It was thought to be just a normal corpse, but unexpectedly, it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Then, Ma Di changed into a new set of clothes and exclaimed, "This body is originally mine." Inside the demon clan camp outside Dezhou City, Several great generals under the command of the Demon Emperor looked at Demon Emperor Pei Yuhan with puzzled expressions, truly unable to understand. Why ally with the human race to destroy the immortal race? The 5 grades agree, but the human race is not worthy of joining forces with us. Hearing this, Bui Vuham cleared his throat and said, My decision is final. You can decide. Haven't you heard the saying that the enemy of your enemy is your friend? Do you want us to be condemned by the immortal clans and ambushed by humans? The Prime Minister immediately replied that he dared not. But the human race is so weak and fragile, how could they possibly hurt him? You say the human race is lowly? It seems you outsiders will never learn to respect others. Seeing Yi Ning appear, the general remained extremely stubborn. The Ma clan only respects the strong. Hearing this, Yi Ning looked at him with a look of pity and said, We can give you a chance to kill me. The 4 of you, come at me together. He is just an ordinary person like Yi Ning, possessing overwhelming power over the demon generals. He even dared them, standing still. They watched and heard his taunt. The demon generals burst into laughter. Could it be that my subordinates left something for you before? Is the Ma tribe easy to bully? Little devil, if you kneel down and apologize now, we will forgive you. Yi Ning told them that he was not joking, and that he was not targeting any demon king here. You blind fools, come and kill me. Hearing Yi Ning's blunt mockery, the demon clan all looked incredulous. Immediately after that, they could no longer contain their anger. A terrifying demonic aura erupted from their bodies. The incident happened so suddenly that even though Bui Vuham wanted to stop it, it was too late. Discovering the host's suicidal behavior, this evaluation is beyond divine intervention. Reward 5,000 points of destiny. Discovered a large amount of destiny in demonic energy. Automatic absorption mode activated. With the sound of the system ringing, the demon generals only felt their strength instantly drained. Immediately transformed into streams of golden chi. Yi Ning's dantian filled. Realizing his strength had increased, he was speechless. Oh my god! Why are they getting even stronger? I almost forgot, these bastards are all cultivating with the power of destiny. But when Yi Ning looked up again, he found that the demon generals who were just now so ferocious had already been sucked into little kids. Seeing this, he became extremely disappointed and said, You guys are using a sword to kill me! It's better than using these useless demonic techniques. However, these words had a different meaning for Ma Jiang and his group. He meant to say our strongest magic? It's not even as good as a milling cutter. Seeing this familiar scene, elder sister Bui helplessly propped her forehead and shouted loudly. This person can kill you all as easily as turning over a hand. You fools are still standing here. It shows he has mercy. Hearing this, Yi Ning also took advantage of the situation and extended an invitation to them, suggesting that they could now discuss the battle plan for tomorrow. But at this very moment, a hurried voice rang out from outside the door. Lu looked at Ma, who was standing in front of Yi Ning, hesitated for a moment, and then said loudly, Master Yi, Lu Xiang has a message asking you to return. However, when we arrived at Lu Heng's mansion, we received news that your majesty had gone missing. Lu Xiang, with a complicated expression, told Yi Ning that it wasn't exactly a disappearance. Then he took a jade pendant from his chest, perhaps having received some news, and sneaked out. Hearing this, Yi Ning reached out to take the jade piece and observed it. The person who left the message seemed to be very cautious. The information had already been destroyed. Tai Xianggao said the Xian clan must have used a despicable trick to lure the emperor out. Hearing what he said, Yi Ning really suspected how he managed to pass the imperial examination and become the #1 scholar. Even if His Majesty were foolish, he would not do such a thing. But let's stop this here, and don't let the demon clan know. I'll go find His Majesty now. Hearing this, Liang Ren immediately volunteered to go along. Yi Ning then told him to calm down, saying he was only going to find someone. It was not about fighting. Liang Ren replied that he knew, but he had a way to track down the whereabouts of your majesty. In a forest somewhere outside the imperial palace. Seeing that Ji Minghua actually came here alone, the figure in the tree laughed loudly. Are you really not afraid that I will kill you? But Ji Minghua fearlessly replied, as long as Yi Ning is still there, the great Chu, with or without me, will only grow stronger. Moreover, you won't kill me. I know you've always been secretly helping Yi Ning. But she told Ji Minghua to shut up, saying she helped him only because he was of use to her, just like this time she sought me out. Song Minghua said that as long as she could save Daizhou, she would accept any price. Fang Qingxue felt touched and opened a portal. Follow me. A king of a country, wanting to save tens of thousands of his people, risking their own lives, actively seeking death, her careless appearance. This also shocked Fang Qingxue. Then, Ji Minghua followed her into the secret realm. Carefully ask if what's in the letter is true. Fang Qingxue said again, if you don't believe me. She could leave at any time, but Song Minghua insisted on staying, even with just a sliver of hope, as long as she could help him. She can do whatever she wants. Seeing her reaction like that, Fang Qingxue couldn't help but sigh. Liking someone was indeed a troublesome thing. Ji Minghua was about to deny it when Fang Qingxue mercilessly exposed her, pretending to be a man for so many years, her secret of being a woman. Of course, Qingxue couldn't be fooled. Outside the secret realm, Yining and Liangren also chased after, but His Majesty's breath disappeared here. Liangren guessed that His Majesty and someone else had used a transportation formation to move to another place. After searching for a while, Liangren still couldn't find the location of the formation. Even its aura became difficult to track. Yining sighed and walked in front of him, saying, "Let me try. I will use the power of heaven and earth to sense the surrounding changes." After a while searching, Yining successfully found. The air in the space outside the cliff fluctuated. Liangren analyzed that this seemed to be the entrance to some secret realm. Yining immediately didn't say much, reaching out to touch and whispered, "Regardless of this person's reasons for kidnapping His Majesty, Yining must bring him out safely." Inside the secret realm, Qingxue has confessed everything to Ji Minghua. It turns out this place also has another name, Xinyunji Di, the only key to opening the treasure. It can only be the bloodline of heaven and earth. Fang Qingxue was sent to the territory since she was a child. She was assigned to the sutra repository because she was young. She was responsible for sorting out useless manuscripts. It was for this reason that one day, while tidying up books, she discovered a jade piece recording the ancient times. It was then that she first realized the true nature of men in this world. Great Chu was originally the highest peak world among myriad worlds. At that time, the Great Chu was peaceful and prosperous. But then one day, two supreme experts were born here, each occupying one side of the continent. And to become the sole ruler of this world, they waged war for hundreds of millions of years, and the world continent was also ravaged by the two powerful beings fighting, which became extremely dangerous and desolate. In the end, both of them were depleted of life energy and fell together, and the world continent also shattered because of this. They fell to the Huangji world, where the battlefield was where they fought, also separated from the world's mainland. Becoming a new world, Fang Qingxue immediately understood everything. The cultivation path that everyone pursues. It's just like a frog at the bottom of a well. Speaking of this, Fang Qingxue laughed nonchalantly. The so-called Xian clan and Demon clan were merely remnants of the Dezhou world. The Dezhou world is the true advanced world. Ko Min Noyet was stunned after hearing this, so she controlled the Empress Dowager. It was to seize the Great Chu. Fang Qingxue shook her head. No, because the Great Chu at that time, fundamentally unable to ascend to heaven-level world. But now, Great Chu is already an earth-level world. While talking, they arrived outside the secret realm. Fang Qingxue explained that this was the entrance to the divine mystery land, and next, they would need to use Zhao Feng's bloodline power. Song Mingyue stared blankly at the large door in front of her. She could feel as if a voice was calling her. Then she pulled out a small knife from somewhere, just as she was about to act. Yining called her back. "Your Majesty, please wait a moment. Just now, I, Yining, also accidentally overheard some matters regarding the Heavenly Emperor, but there are still a few things I need to verify myself." Yining then looked towards Fang Qingxue and asked what her purpose was in bringing His Majesty here. "Don't tell me it's to save all living beings." She honestly replied to Yining, "Of course, it's for the secret treasure within the secret realm." Yining was also speechless at her honesty. She was really too straightforward. Yining said Fang Qingxue's words could be trusted. But he didn't trust this door. He quickly cut his hand and said, "Let me see if my saint blood is qualified." As Yining struck the stone door with his palm, a blinding golden light emerged from within. For a moment, the entire cave began to shake. And at that moment Yining's arm pulled into the stone wall by a strong force. Before he could react, he had already fallen into the stone doorway. Seeing his condition, the three people outside did not hesitate, rushing towards Yining at breakneck speed, but when they arrived, he was completely immersed in it. Seeing this, Ji Mingyue immediately lost all her strength, kneeling on the ground, desperately calling Yining's name. Initially, Yining was determined to die. But suddenly, Yining didn't want to die anymore. Not only did she sweep through the entire secret realm with an invincible posture, even Heavenly Tao couldn't do anything to Yining. It turned out that this was to prevent His Majesty from venturing out. Yining did it herself. Passing through the secret gate, seeing this, Song Mingyue pulled out her dagger and shouted, "If Yining dies, I will have no reason to live." Liangren shouted, "Your Majesty, you are so confused. Yining just told me, if something happens to him, please make sure His Majesty doesn't do anything rash." Knowing it was Yining's request, Ji Mingyue immediately fell silent. Fang Qingxue looked at the closed gate, her mind racing. It turned out that everything was a trap designed for her. The one who can break the secret realm is not the great Zhou Tianzi but a mysterious outsider. Inside the secret realm, they found that the system denied Yining's action this time. He immediately understood that recently, nothing in this secret realm could threaten him. After that, Yining relaxed his steps, visiting many places, but all around are only remnants of the previous war. After passing through the entire battlefield, Yining arrived in front of a tall mountain. Suddenly, a giant hand reached out from the ground. A tall figure clad in armor quickly emerged from the ground, his voice like a machine speaking from beneath the mask, asking, "Who goes there?" Yining calmly replied with his name, Chief Inspector of the Great Chu Inspectorate, Yining. However, the colossal figure said that he couldn't find any information about Yining at all. And seeing Yining as an enemy, seeing the huge fist swinging towards him, Yining hesitated for a moment. Although he desperately wanted to die, he hesitated at the last moment. Strangely, Yining used one hand to block the attack of that figure, when I didn't want to die. No one can do anything to me yet. Then, Yining effortlessly deflected his fist, just as he thought he could easily handle this guy. He saw a terrifying energy converging in Zhang Chulin's mouth. Just as Yining was surprised, the green laser beam instantly engulfed him. Yining struggled to fend off the attack from this mysterious figure, her alertness towards him also heightened. Next, Yining saw him appear above her. He kicked hard at the spot where Yining was standing. He did not dodge, his hands holding back the mysterious person's terrifying strength. Although he did nothing and would be happy to be trampled to death, if Yining struggled a bit. Uncertain of the outcome, Yining's action was recognized by the system, a surge of power coursing through his limbs. Immediately Yining threw that person out. Because he thought about suicide every day, his attack methods were pitifully few. It truly hits home when you realize that you regret not reading more books when you need them. Realizing this, Yining immediately summoned the 4 sacred beasts. I can't do it, so I can only rely on the power of science and technology. But facing Zhuchua's strongest move, that monster was unharmed. It even learned Zhuchua's skills to counterattack. Yining understood that even if the 4 divine beasts joined forces, they still couldn't defeat it. Moreover, simultaneously controlling all 4 sacred beasts is extremely mentally taxing. I'm afraid it won't last long. Yining immediately stopped. At this moment the monster suddenly shouted, 5 elements unite! Immediately after that, 4 giant battle armors exactly like it emerged from the ground. Then he quickly flew up to the sky. Form a great 5 elements formation. Faced with this situation, Yining also felt completely helpless. Could it be that this time, he was destined to die? However, Yining also wanted to struggle. He then concentrated his efforts on controlling the 4 divine beasts to fly towards the 5 elements formation. But as soon as they touched the formation, they vanished in a flash. A deep red energy beam shot out from the formation. In the blink of an eye, he arrived in front of Yining. I can feel this overwhelming power. Yining calmly accepted everything. It seemed this time he really had to die. It is a pity that the secret realm has not been fully explored yet. Died for over 100 episodes. Today Yining finally fulfilled this wish. At first, it was thought that what awaited was eternal, immortal life. Unexpectedly, Yining was transported straight to Earth. At this moment, a familiar figure appeared beside Yining. It was the strange puppet that had fought him in the secret realm. He wondered why this person was still clinging to him like a leech even though he was clearly home. He didn't say a word, lunged forward to punch Yining. He immediately decided to teach him a lesson, otherwise he would really consider Yining a pushover. Yining immediately kneeled up and punched him in the face. Subconsciously shouting the slogan made Yining a little embarrassed. Fortunately, no one here knew Yining, otherwise it would be very embarrassing. Of course, anyone who heard Yining's favorite catchphrase today must die. But he suddenly told Yining to wait. Yining was also a little dumbfounded by this elegant way of speaking, while signaling him to speak quickly. He asked Yining where he learned the words he just said, saying they were really cool. Yining casually neutralized the attack, saying, "If you want to learn, I can teach you." But he didn't follow common sense, throwing Yining a question, tricking Yining. Yining, who didn't understand the language, immediately widened her eyes. Answer seriously sign. The next second, as if understanding each other, their hands clasped tightly in excitement. All shouted in unison, "Comrades!" The puppeteer immediately took off his armor, tears streaming down his face. He turned out to be a bespectacled nerd. Do you know how long I've waited for this day? After 50,000 years, fortunately, I have kept all my memories in the puppet. I can still remember everything about that world. Yining handed him the silk scarf she had brought with her. He patted him hard on the shoulder like a wrestler. His friend had suffered. From his story, Yining learned that he was a transmigrator from the same world as Yining, but he had transmigrated here 50,000 years ago. More importantly, He doesn't have any supporting system, because he is good at physics and chemistry. But in this world, those things are of no use. Unable to make a living, he had to resort to street performing. Just as he was about to starve to death, he met a beautiful girl. Princess Xinhua was very curious about his attire and knowledge. She gave him space to develop his full potential. And he did not disappoint, using all his life's knowledge to create Yanhua No. 1, a mechanical puppet capable of combat. The person who just attacked Yining is the final version, Huaotian. Although the mech puppet Huaotian possesses top-notch performance, it cannot stop the battle between Tiandi and Maudi. To prevent Wengaoshan and Princess Xinhua's body from falling into the hands of the demons, this man sacrificed his soul and merged with Wengaoshan, the space they are currently in. This is Yining's spiritual space. Hearing this, Yining asked why he also came here. He pondered for a moment before telling Yining that it might be because of the similar frequency of their spiritual waves. It had created a fascination. After getting the answer, Yining told him that they should leave now. He nodded, also not wanting the tragedy of Great Show to repeat itself. Outside the secret realm, Liangren suddenly looked back vigilantly. The Devil Emperor, in Bivu Ham's body, met his gaze and praised him for being truly formidable, able to detect him despite such well-concealed energy. Ma Di quickly noticed Ji Mingwei beside him, apparently with an unexpected delight. Ji Mingwei was about to step forward and ask him what county this was. Fang Qingxue stopped him and spoke firmly. He was not Bivu Ham. The Devil Emperor did talk nonsense. He casually swung out his hand. With a single strike, Liangren quickly stepped in front of Ji Mingwei. Ma Di, somewhat surprised, saw Liangren, who was seriously injured, yet still blocked the sword for the humans. Possessing a body of cultivation, unfortunately, he is useless. Next, he grabbed Ji Mingwei's cheek and observed it for a long time. It was indeed a handsome face. No wonder in Bei Yuhang's mind, besides Yining, the one she cared about most was Ji Mingwei. At the same time, Ji Mingwei was also using all her strength to question who the person in front of her was. At this moment, the Devil Emperor also noticed Ji Mingwei's frenzied mutation. But the sharp sword energy that appeared beside him cut short his thoughts. Fang Qingxue silently held her sword and looked at the MOD, her face still as hateful as ever. But the aura around you is even more nauseating than Pei Yuhan. Ma Di raised his hand and knocked away her sword. A pitiful worm, how dare she point her weapon at her master? The sword aura in Fang Qingxue's hand surged. She swung the sword towards the Demon Emperor. She knew she couldn't hurt MOD. He merely brandished his sword chi, forcing MOD back towards the formation, and threw the teleportation jade pendant to Tianzi Ji Mingwei, telling her to quickly lead Liangren away. I stayed here not because of you, but because there is something I want in this secret realm. At the same time, he remembered what his master once told him. Only by severing emotional ties can one have the opportunity to step onto the true path of immortality. But it seems that Fang Qingxue hasn't achieved immortality yet. We're here, if we don't die, we're truly invincible. The final chapter has arrived. To protect Yining and the Emperor of the Great Zhou dynasty in the secret realm, Fang Qingxue burned her life away to fight against the Demon Emperor for several dozen minutes. Seeing Fang Qingxue struggling, the Demon Emperor looked down upon her. If I hadn't adapted to this body yet, you would have been dead already. As he spoke, he reached out into the void. I originally intended to use this sword against Yining, but if you want to die, so I will fulfill your wish. I forgot to tell you, when you came here, he conveniently massacred several villages to consecrate the sword. That includes the village that once sheltered you. Hearing that, the memories buried in Fang Qingxue's mind resurfaced. That was the image of her father spending 10,000 taels of gold to get her into the immortal sect. At that very moment, Qingxue realized that everything could be exchanged, even kinship. If one cannot demonstrate the value of one's existence, then he is a person who does not deserve sympathy. But it was not until she arrived at the village that she understood what value was. This is just an excuse for selfishness. Thinking of this, Fang Qingxue tightened her long sword in her hand, muttering like a madman. Perhaps I yearn more than anyone. Have experienced a warmth I've never felt before. Facing Fang Qingxue's final blow, the Devil Emperor showed no intention of dodging. To let her pass through his body. This attack is truly very powerful. I acknowledge you, but humans are indeed easily influenced by emotions. Before her death, Fang Qingxue smiled serenely. Because of the existence of these feelings. This is the proof that he really lived. Ma Di was about to leave when he found that his legs were completely trapped by some kind of formation. Ma Di immediately recognized this formation, the blood-breaking sealing formation, using himself as the hidden core to imprison the person within the formation. Thinking about this, Ma Di also couldn't help but think he was a little better than that girl. But on the other hand, outside the Great Chu city wall, Sukuin, as planned, instigated Gu Xianzong to send troops here. But after waiting 2.5 minutes and still not seeing any reinforcements, his heart burned with anxiety. At this moment, Gu Xianzong suddenly ordered the entire army to attack and completely destroy Great Chu. The moment the voice faded, hundreds of ferry boats roared to life. A furious shout echoed through the air. Ancient Immortal Venerable, be careful not to choke on Great Chu. On the contrary, he would rather kill himself than be captured. Seeing the person approaching, Gu Xianzun was also very surprised and asked loudly, "Have you forgotten our agreement? No matter what you want to do, whoever breaks the covenant will be punished by the soul sacrifice joy. If you have the guts, come at me." Hearing this, Buinakam, in the body of the demon emperor, was overjoyed and at the same time commanded tens of thousands. The demonic army attacked, witnessing the moment when both sides engaged in battle. The ancient immortal sovereign immediately froze in place, not understanding why the demon emperor violated the pact. But he was safe and sound. At the same time, Yi Ning's voice echoed in reply, because the contract was engraved on his soul. But the soul that made the contract with you is not in the body before you. Ancient Immortal Venerable, you didn't expect that after scheming for so long, it would still end in a battle. Then, Yi Ning went to the side of Buyuhan in the body of the demon emperor. She shook the small tower in her hand and said that it was fortunate to have the contract of MOD in Gu Xianzun. If not for you, he wouldn't have been able to subdue the demon emperor so easily. Seeing Gu Xianzun trembling with anger after being teased by him, Yi Ning smiled and said, "If you like me this much, then I will perform another magic trick for you." A figure suddenly appeared in the void. The ancient immortal lord saw this and instantly widened his eyes, because that figure was none other than Deep Nin, who had transformed into the Heavenly Emperor. Unexpectedly, it was the Heavenly Emperor's bloodline. Hearing this, the Heavenly Emperor softly said, "The great Zhou of the past disintegrated because of endless greed. Now I don't want to see that happen again." Immediately after, Tiandi held out his two hands. The sky and earth suddenly changed color, leaving only an endless gentle golden light. It has been 5 years since the earth-shaking battle. The world is peaceful once again. Yi Ning, however, was deceived by Ji Mingyue and fell into the abyss, living a life of toil like a machine. Hearing Yi Ning sighing incessantly, Ji Mingyue smiled gently and said, "In the past, your husband treated me like this. Now I'll let you taste my power." Yi Ning knew it was time to submit the most painful homework, and ran away without looking back. Ji Mingyue laughed freely and said, "Sisters, catch him for me. I want him unable to get out of bed." Hearing this, Yi Ning trembled and screamed, "I'd rather die."